Okay, so now let's talk about the eyeball, right? The eye itself, right? And this is an image from your overheads, right? That shows you an eye sort of cut down the middle. It's what we call sort of a mid-sagittal cut through the eye. And you can see the light kind of entering from this direction, right? And the first thing it encounters is a layer of cells where there are no actual blood vessels in this structure. It's sort of a clear entry point for the light to go through. But there are within this structure called the cornea quite a number of what we call nociceptors. These are pain-sensing neurons. They respond to tissue damage, and anybody who has had a corneal abrasion where they've scraped the cornea or nicked the cornea will be very well aware of the presence of pain-sensing neurons located in that structure. The cells of this of the cornea are actually fed more by this aqueous humor, this fluid that actually is found behind the cornea, and then the light will continue, through like a dark spot here in the center, right, which is called the pupil. And the pupil, as everybody knows, can be adjusted, right, in terms of its level of dilation. You can significantly dilate the pupil, right, in dim light, and you can also constrict the pupil in brighter light, and that allows for the right amount of light to get through so you don't overwhelm the specialized photoreceptive cells that we're going to talk about that are found back here at the retina. The pupil size is actually adjusted by a muscle that surrounds the pupil that's called the iris and is colored, right? So some people have brown eyes and some people have blue eyes. It depends upon the color of the iris, the pigments that are expressed in the iris. And then as the light passes through the pupil, you'll see that it has to go through this big structure here called the lens, right? And the lens is actually, if you're lucky, it's flexible, and it typically starts out quite flexible in most of us, and it allows you to adjust the focal length, so you can actually, the amount of refraction of the light, so that it falls clearly on the receptive cells of the retina at the back of the eye. In most people, actually, by the time you're in your 40s, the pupil is less flexible. It's not as easy to sort of stretch it out, right? People develop a condition called presbyopia, which refers to the fact that the pupil is, the lens is less flexible. And at that stage, you typically invest in a pair of bifocals or trifocals, progressive lenses, right? That will allow you to choose the specific focal length that you need in order to stretch the lens over a smaller range, right? The light that is going to pass through the cornea, through the pupil, depending on its level of constriction, right, through the lens, it'll be then focused at the back here on these cells. This is the what's called the retina. This is the site of the photoreceptive cells in your visual system. This is where the actual process of stimulus transduction will occur, and we'll see they're going to be specific photoreceptors that will literally absorb certain photons of light, right? Certain wavelengths of that narrow band of the electromagnetic spectrum, right? And they'll absorb it and convert it to another form of energy. We're going to see it's actually going to be sort of a kinetic movement of what's called a photopigment. But if you've ever wondered why pupils are black, it's because light gets in, but it doesn't get out. Unless, of course, you put too much light in, right? If you have a camera flash, right? And then you've got that red light being reflected back, largely from all the vascularization that's found at the back of the retina.